How can they kill?
By creating climates that condone and encourage violence.
Words don't kill. People do.
Words can be a license to kill.
Perhaps we should ban such words.
Can speech kill? Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Bricks and stone may break my bones, but talk don't bother me.
Listen to Philosophy Talk today at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning, March 24th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Special good morning also to our viewers who are watching this visual radio program. We're streaming live to the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. We're glad that you're with us this morning as well, everyone. Coming up in the next few moments, my guest, Aztec Superintendent Kirk Carpenter, is going to be here to talk about what's been going on at Aztec Schools and how what is going on affects his students, staff, and teachers. That conversation begins just a few moments from now right here on KSJE, so we hope you will stay tuned and join us. Then, of course, we will still check in with Amber Francisco down at the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. There are still lots of pets in need of homes during all of this, and so Amber will be giving us an update on some of the dogs and cats that are available this week, how you can go about meeting them, and we'll show you some of their pictures as well. That's coming up this morning at 8:50 a.m. right here on KSJE. Then a reminder at 9 a.m. this morning, it is our local information program about COVID-19, the new coronavirus. We are sharing local information about this. It is information that I don't think you can get reliably, maybe on some of the statewide media, because they are dealing with the entire state, of course. And so we're happy to provide this public service at 9 a.m. It's going to be on our visual radio platforms of YouTube and Facebook. So we hope that you will join us there and share it with others, because it will be available on demand after we go off the air. But that's starting at 9 a.m. with my co-host Megan Cullip, who'll be here to join me for that. On the radio, though, at that time, it is still Roving with the Arts. Mick Hess will be here, of course, and he is always playing great classical music. This morning, it's more Bach cantatas coming up on Roving with the Arts at 9:06 right here on KSJE. A reminder, too, in addition to Facebook and YouTube, we are sharing information on the KSJE Twitter accounts. That's at KSJE_news. And also at KSJE, and also check out our KSJE account on Instagram as well. Here's our weather forecast. It's going to be partly sunny skies by this afternoon, the high 58 in Farmington, clear overnight with a low of 33, then windy tomorrow, but warmer with a high of 64 on Wednesday, 44 overnight. A chance of showers with some scattered clouds on Thursday with a high of 63, overnight low of 33, and then a chance of thunderstorms and scattered showers on Friday, colder with a high of 44, and a low of 28 before we get sunshine again and a high of 51 on Saturday. And as we always tell you, visual radio can take you places. It's taking you outdoors to San Juan College. Of course, campus is closed and just announced yesterday classes will be online here at San Juan College through April 10th. That is April 10th. Only essential personnel are allowed here on campus. I guess I'm one of those. But we are providing this public service to the community. But here's a look from a few moments ago of San Juan College. Well, let me turn to my guest, who is patiently waiting for me to introduce him. He is joining us via phone today because of his other professional commitments. Superintendent Kirk Carpenter is joining me this morning. Mr. Carpenter, good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks for having me. I've always been told I have a face for radio, so I think listeners will enjoy this even more than what they usually do.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's always great to have you here, Mr. Carpenter, and talk to us about what's been going on. And of course, your school district, like every others in New Mexico, is not immune from what's going on. You've had to make some pretty quick and, in some cases, maybe drastic changes, right, for your students, staff, and teachers.
We did, at the point where we even thought maybe that we would start to maybe bringing small staffs and small groups back together a little bit. We've had to make the changes, and so I think like everybody across the state, we were wondering where we were, where we might be going, and then with the governor's stay-home order, which we fully understand, we support. This is a very serious situation, and trying to get our minds around after spring break, which was last week, and then where we're going in the next 2 weeks. We've had to be very flexible with this. It's obviously a very serious situation, but at the same time, trying to send a message out to people not to panic, just be informed and be careful, and make sure people are taking it seriously, and doing their part, because it literally is going to take all of us. And I think the more we do our part to address the situation and take care of things, then it's going to take time. We know that, and in some cases, I think people say we still haven't seen the peak, and we're not the experts in that. I think we just got to try to do what we can to address the situation and take care of what we can on our side of things, and just kind of take things as they go, if you will, because, again, we can't control a lot of this. We just have to adapt and be flexible and try to move forward, but that's what we're doing. And even with the changes, we're not going to sit back and just be away from things. We're just going to have to adapt the way we're doing some of our work, because there's a lot of work that needs to continue, and we still don't know what decisions are going to be made going forward as far as school and some of those things, and if we'll continue or when we'll continue and that type of thing. Some of those decisions need to be made still.
Understood. So, Mr. Carpenter, give us an update of kind of what's going on today. You mentioned spring break, of course, last week, which the timing, I guess, was pretty fortuitous for school districts across our state to be able to at least plan for that shutdown and then use that time to make plans as to what's going to happen, like, say, this week. So Monday is come and gone, and so are your students, obviously schools are still closed, are they learning from home? Are there any online things, or what's your message for parents and your teachers from Aztec Schools this morning?
There's some limited things happening, Scott. We were not able to get a lot of formal things planned. I think we were going to utilize the next 2 weeks to really formalize things, and we're still planning on doing that.
Sure.
I think the big hurdle, but I will be perfectly honest. I think that for me and my mentality, anybody that knows me and knows the way we work, challenges are opportunities. And the challenge now is obviously we really can't bring people together like we want to. We probably can in small groups. We're trying to get clarification on that, but a lot of stuff's going to have to be done distance. Is now to real formally put together a plan. As you and I speak right now, our cabinet and instructional coaches and others are meeting via Zoom, online platform, to discuss potential things we can do to put together instructional delivery models. Some of that will involve online. We're limited. We don't have a one-to-one complete platform for our kids in our district. But the other thing we're doing is we have a survey that we need to get out to all of our people in our district. We informed people last week on the internet, across our Facebook pages, to say we'll be calling you this week, and we still plan to do that. We need to identify which families have the ability to receive instructional information across the web, or have devices at home. It doesn't have to be meaning they have the website available. We need to know what devices. Do they have computers? We've even figured out ways to deliver instruction where we can put things on jump drives and they can play it on Game Boy boxes. I mean, we are trying to figure out every opportunity where we can do some things and deliver those things out to families, whether it's when we deliver the food and do it in week intervals, and exchange that, because we want to keep the learning going, but that's going to take us a couple of weeks to really get things formalized. But we still have that plan and that we want to go forward with. But now with this recent order, it does have a little bit of a setback, and exactly how that's going to look, again, what we're trying to do is the initial planning stages for that. And it's not because we did not want to do this, it's just because of the timing of everything. And again, not every family has the capability to jump on a website. And what we need to do is identify which families have those things, which don't, so then we can determine exactly what we need to do, which families need hard copies, which families don't, which families can get online. And again, it's going to take some training of staff, even our staff, of developing those lessons. So initially it may be a lot more hard copy stuff going out, and then adapting into a hybrid approach where there's less hard copies going out to all families. Some families will receive things more online than others that have that capability. But what we need to do initially is an inventory of our families to see who has what available and how we need to get that information out. So that's what we're initially going to be doing the next day or two, and that's going to involve teachers. Not having teachers being able to come in, that means we're going to have teachers trying to call home and talk with families and say, what do you have available? Not trying to be personal, not trying to pry into individual lives. However, given the situation, we need to know. And this information will help us, if you will, design the best way we can try to keep learning going, because it's important that we do that, not just in hopefully sooner than later over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we don't know what's going on down the road. We know some states have canceled school for the rest of the year. I know 2 or 3 states have done that. If that becomes something that happens in New Mexico, then we need to continue learning for our kids regardless, because that's the most important thing that happens, and it needs to happen for our kids. And so we want to be able to try to get something put together, and we need to make sure we try to deliver that to all students, and we more so than ever before. We're going to have family involvement, and we need to try to make that something that families can handle. And so we're trying to get our minds around that. So like I said, as we speak right now, we have probably 20 people on a call trying to get our minds around what this might look like and how we roll this out.
Interesting. And Mr. Carpenter, your answer kind of opens up a whole other line of questions that I have for you this morning, and just explains exactly how maybe complicated this whole thing is as you move to change kind of how you've been doing things and then still provide some of these services. And so I just want to touch briefly on the one thing, which is the technology portion of what you mentioned. And again, for some folks who may not realize that there are some families and some children in Aztec schools and other school districts who don't have easy access to a computer, technology to do some of these maybe online assignments. We're seeing that here at Juan College. I'm seeing that personally with some of my students from my classes that have now moved online for the next several weeks. And so how do you instruct those students, I hear you saying, and then the food component, the nutrition component, because again, for a lot of your students, they depended on lunch at school every day and maybe even a breakfast too. And so that is something that Aztec Schools and other districts have been trying to continue, right, and to try to deliver food to your students.
And that's continuing. I mean, that's something that when we think about essential services in our communities, essential services at schools is the food delivery, and that's going to continue. So we do have essential staff on hand. The fact of it, Scott, is I'm at home today, but more than likely more days of my day will be spent maybe at central office, maybe just manning central office. Maybe I'll be the only one there, or we'll have isolated staff every now and then come in because we have payroll still to take care of. So we'll have some payroll people come in maybe for a couple hours during a couple times during this time that we're supposed to be away, only because we have to take care of those things, or if we have an emergency come up. So there's going to be some essential staff that has to be there. If we're having to clean a little bit, there'll be some people there. And we sent that out to all of our staff. I'm getting ready to post something on our Facebook because there's a lot of questions. They're saying, okay, April 6th was the last day we're supposed to be out, but now the governor's put this stay-home order till April 10th. Well, more than likely, as what the governor said, that closed schools of April 6th will probably be extended, but we have not got the official word. We have a meeting this Thursday with the Secretary of Education, so we know that we're probably going to be past the April 6th, but we don't have anything official, and I know that's unsettling for a lot of folks because they want answers, and so do we. But I think the biggest thing that we have to do is, even though we're apart as communities, we have to stay together on this. And I think that's the most important thing, and we have to find ways to stay positive. We're being tested as Americans more than ever before, other than maybe wartime. I think that's something that we have to realize. And so what we're being tested is how are we going to stay together on this? And we have a choice. Our choice is how we handle this. And we can't change what we're given. We have a choice of our actions, of what we do, and the orders that we're asked to being requested to follow. Those are things we have 100% control over. We don't have any control over the virus and what's been handed to us, but we have full control over our actions. We have full control over our attitudes and how we try to deal with this. We have full control over trying to be as positive as we can in this situation, as much as this is negative. And we can either be victims of it or we can be victors of it. And I think we have to find ways to do that. And that means doing every little thing, from as washing our hands, the way we're coughing, staying away from sick people, all those simple little things, because this is, again, it's going to get worse before it gets better. We realize that, but it can get even more worse if we don't do some of those simple things. And that's why we're trying to take every single precaution. But at the same time, on the other side of that, trying to deal with some of the other things that we're in the business of, and that's educating kids. And so getting back onto that track, those are some of the things that we're trying to do and trying to manage and want to make sure that we try to offer to families. Now, some may say, well, that's not the most important thing. Well, it is important, and we want to offer that. We do not want to negate what's happening out there and take attention away from the importance of what's out there. But, I've heard it said, is it a pandemic where people are panicking over this? We don't want people doing that. We want them to stay informed, but we also want to make sure we understand the importance of keeping education and some sense of normalcy going, given the situation. So we're not trying to take a focus away from the importance or the seriousness of this situation, but we also want to try to bring in the importance of trying to continuing education as much as possible and doing it in a way that we can, in a safe way, but also providing families with opportunity to have some sense of normalcy in their lives as well, and not letting this the COVID-19 become something that's going to override us as Americans or anything else, that we do have some sense of control of our lives as well and do it with balance.
Understood. But I understand, too, that this is always still evolving situation in our state, in our world, in our country. And I know, as you've mentioned, there's a lot of questions that so far maybe the answers are elusive at the moment. And as you mentioned, there are meetings underway, there are groups, and you're getting direction, I hope, from the Public Education Department. But I imagine they will have the final say about what happens to your district, your teachers, your students, how the school year is completed or extended or what have you. All those ongoing issues, right, are going to be decided and probably come down from the PED with your involvement, though, as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we're being handed down a lot of that, and we're being handed down a lot of direction. And we have to respect what's being said, because those things are coming down not just from the governor's office. I mean, she's obviously getting advice from the CDC, the New Mexico Department of Health, the federally. We're getting they're getting a lot of advice there, so we have to respect that. I mean, those are the experts. There are far bigger things than education and some of those things right now, and we absolutely respect that. And so you're right. But I think what we have to do is try to plan how do we go forward with some of these things, knowing that full well a plan put in place could be diverted, it could be nixed, it could be put on hold. But we have to try to be as proactive as we can, even though in some respects we may think we're way behind on this, but we're not. We're getting people planning, trying to do as much as we can, as fast as we can. But you're right. It could be best plans, put down and put forth could be, derailed, because this is absolutely, as you said, it's so unpredictable. But we don't know, because a lot of the things and decisions are out of our control. But again, it goes back to do the things you can control. Plan the things you can plan. Come up with a plan, and if for some reason they get derailed, that's okay. But if you try to control the things you can, that's all you can do. The things you can't control, then you have to just let go of. But try to do everything you can within your powers to take care of those issues that you can for the benefit of the people that you serve, the students and staff, and then see where that fits in with the overall scheme and how things are changing or not changing. And we'll take whatever decisions come down to us and respect those decisions, because those people are being informed by the experts of the industry dealing with this situation. And we have 100% respect for that, and we'll move forward accordingly.
Very good. Well, Mr. Carpenter, we have a few minutes remaining this morning. I want to ask you a little bit about your message maybe for parents who are home with their students, and maybe parents are being told to work from home or stay home, and so maybe there's some opportunities there for some lesson and some learning, and it's not allowed to go out and take a walk in the neighborhood or go to the park in a smaller group, but the governor is limited to 5 or less. But there are still some things that folks can be doing to get out of the house and to maybe help their students during this time. And do you have any suggestions for parents on maybe some things? I know there's a lot of online teaching opportunities or online lessons and learning and things like that during this time. But if folks don't have access to that, do you have any other advice for them of what they can be doing now that they find themselves at home with their kids?
Well, I think it may sound corny, but I think when you're cooking, you're doing measurements, you're doing any of that kind of thing, if you're doing any kind of little construction projects, any of that little stuff where you're involving measurements or anything, have your kids help out. Anything to engage the brain. If you're doing puzzles, if you're doing games that involve types of things of family involvement where it involves that any kind of critical thinking, involve your students. Anything you can do, have your students read a certain portion of the day. Keep them off the games if you have that. Little things that engage the brain at this time. We talk about every year we send home things that what you can do to try to prevent from the summer slide, we call it, to involve your kids. When you go on trips or whatever it is, well, you can't take trips right now. So what can you do at home to engage kids and engage their brain? There's lots of things, and like you said, we do have the website thing, and obviously some families don't have that. But I think there's lots of little things you can do at the house to engage kids in their brain, to whether, like I said, it's from the cooking to making instruments to whatever it may be. Reading, you never go wrong with that. I think as long as the brain's not staying idle, that you delegate a certain amount of time at home that they're doing something, whether it's reading a book, doing some kind of, they can find math to do, they can do anything related to something that's related to schoolwork, just to keep exercising the brain. It's like the body. If you don't exercise the body, it gets out of shape. If you don't exercise the brain, it gets out of shape. And so I think it's a matter of just reinforcing the importance of educating the brain and keeping it exercised with the right types of things at home. And so again, I think it's up to families just to continue to try to do that. And if they have access or can get access to the website, there's things on there. And obviously that's for those families that can. If there's families out there that can't and they want to try to reach out and we can get back to them, we will. I know that right now that's very difficult, but we'll continue to try to get that going, and that's what we're trying to do as we speak, is try to find ways to reach out to families and get some of that going for them.
Sure, sure. But you mentioned earlier, and it sounds to me, I hear it across the country, that the old-fashioned phone call is making a comeback during these times. And as you mentioned, you are reaching out with a survey to try to find out what the capabilities of many of your families are in the district, to know if they have access to technology and computers. But making that phone call, you mentioned some of your teachers may be reaching out to families as well. And so the old-fashioned phone call certainly could be making a comeback with exchange of information and things along that line as well, correct?
And that is correct, and that's exactly how we want to roll out the survey, is from our teachers. It'll be good for teachers to reach out and make contact to families. So I just hope that our families that may be listening, and we try, again, posted that on our Facebook and send it out as much as we could, Twitter, everything else. Again, trying to get that information out, and word of mouth is great because other families may know that we're trying to do that. We're not trying to be nosy. We're trying to be informed. So that we can understand what's out there, and having teachers do that is the perfect way to do that, because our teachers they're antsy, they want to help, and what better way for students to reach out to their students, one, to check on them, and two, to find out what they have so that they can understand the delivery model would be best to get instructional material out there to students and get it back from them. And teachers are teachers at heart and care for their kids, and so let's find out what the best way to get information out to them. We're unprecedented times. Sometimes we need to go back to the simplest forms of communication and not overcomplicate things. And I think that's what we do sometimes, is we overcomplicate. So a simple phone call to find out, one, how students are doing, two, what is it you have, and how can we help you? And you know what? Let's pick up the phone and let's make some phone calls.
There you go. And again, before we run out of time, Mr. Carpenter, the nutrition program, again, I know you've reached out to your families that are part of that program, but just for folks maybe who haven't heard, I know we've shared that information on our website as well, but you had some distribution points in the district for breakfast and lunches, I believe, and that's continuing, correct? That's not stopping even during this time?
It's not stopping. It'll continue. I know that's the intent of the governor, and it is something that is not stopping. If anything changes, we'll make sure we get it posted. The Farmington Daily Times has done a great job for us trying to get stuff out. That is not the intent, that it stops at this time. And those people are considered essential staff. We've made some modifications because we heard from some folks that there was some trouble getting to certain places. Mr. Shriver, our food service director, has done a tremendous job, and his staff has been incredible. Mr. Laws, transportation director, the same thing, getting the buses out to certain places and certain stops and certain fire stations within the county, which we appreciate the county allowing us to do that, so that people could just come grab and go. And we've combined it, the breakfast and lunch, so it's happening between, I think, 11 and 1 is the time, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we've combined things, but yeah, that will absolutely continue, so that we can make sure that kids across the district are getting fed, and that will continue. Very good.
Well, Superintendent Carpenter, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me this morning to inform all of us how the district is meeting this challenge, as you mentioned, and I know there are other things coming in the days and weeks ahead, and so I'm sure we'll keep tabs with you, and please call back with an update when it's appropriate.
I will, Scott, and I just also want to, I know we talked about Aztec today, but just also want to shout out across the state to all the superintendents, but specifically to our other area superintendents and the job they're doing during this time. And not just with the food service, but they too have extensive plans for trying to meet needs of education, some farther along, some just where we are as well, but just a shout out to my fellow superintendent colleagues in this area with the job they're doing during this time as well. And we're very fortunate in our area to have such talented people and teams around them, and I just want to commend them on the job they're doing as well, and the partnerships we have. In times of crisis is when leadership, I think, shows, and they're doing a tremendous job, so I just want to commend them as well.
Well, thank you. And again, Dr. Schmidt from Farmington Schools will be here with me tomorrow. He'll be joining me on the phone as well. And then Dr. Mizell from Bloomfield will be here next week. So we'll be talking to the parents and teachers and staff of all of the local districts for the superintendents that do accept our invitation to appear on the show, as you do. So, Mr. Carpenter, thank you so much. I'll let you go. I know you have a busy day today, but thank you again for joining me this morning.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. That is Aztec Schools Superintendent Kirk Carpenter, my guest here on KSJE. I'll be back with more in just a moment, everyone. The time right now is 8:39.
Will coronavirus end up being the end of digital privacy? Depends on what we do next. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace Tech, demystifying the digital economy. I'm Molly Wood.